especially now. It's like the witching
You are
hour.
live now. Hello, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. The usual thing I say is, have you eaten your dinner?
I hope
Okay.
so by 8 p.m.
Yes, I have today with me Dr. Cheryl Kam and of course myself, Ai Ling. I had a long day today. I went back to work and it is our last week in Kindiru and I think I'm really, really busy. That's why you see I look different with glasses and everything because I'm so quiet from the rest of the day. Okay, and I'm very, very happy to welcome Dr. Cheryl Kam. I know her, wow, I think back, wow, many years.
Yeah, I think when my son was still in my belly, so 3.5 years ago, or maybe even 4.
Yeah, so I know her that long. And yeah, so we knew each other through work. I was doing a doctor's presentation and then she happened to be there and I was explaining to the panel about the goodness of neurodevelopment and she was on board and then I had even see her second baby. Wow, her
Yeah.
second baby is already more than 1 year old. So it's very nice to have loyal parents around.
Yeah,
And
they really benefited from coming through the Kindiru system. And it's not just Kindiru, I believe it's actually Kindiru plus a lot of your therapeutic background as well that you've taught the staff. But unfortunately, it's not that anymore. So there's just you and your therapeutic background. Yes?
yeah,
Okay.
very happy to announce this in the later part of the week.
Okay.
Yes. So now, just give parents a little bit of background. Today, the purpose of having Dr. Cheryl come on board is to share with everyone the importance of diet, the importance of gut health. Because although I work with children with development, I believe neurodevelopment is not just about motor skills and all the other milestones that we frequently look at. We need to also look at diet. We need to look at like the other time we were looking at oral, facial health. So as a holistic development for a child, diet is actually one big piece of the puzzle. So that's why I think it's so important to have someone reputable to share the importance of diet and the nutrients that a growing child might need. And you might be very, very surprised because she's going to share a lot of good information. So let's welcome Dr. Cheryl Kam. Yay!
Thank you. Yeah, it's a pleasure to be here, and I hope that this video will end up helping lots and lots of families, because one of the things that I do see is behavioral issues in children, and of course, Shee Hock Ai Ling also works with children with delayed milestones and behavioral issues, and of course, she works with them in form of therapy and integrating reflexes, is what I can understand, but it's not fair on them if their nutritional status is not up to scratch. And we are finding that a lot of moms and a lot of women, young women, are starting their pregnancies already at a nutrient deficit. So that's why I help moms mainly. But this then has downstream effects on the pregnancy. And of course, fetal development happens during the pregnancy, even before they're born. There are a lot of milestones within that and a lot of reflexes that need integrating. And then, of course, after as well. So many modern children are born with lower bone densities and bone mineral compositions than children in previous generations. So there is that phenomenon. It's very real, and it is because of the modern diet and the modern lifestyle we all live. Okay, so if you are saying things like, oh, my child eats a regular diet and things like that, I don't think this is good enough. It's really important to get into the diet and assess. And many of these children have severe nutritional deficit. So I'm going to actually be racing through some slides that I prepared a long time ago, but I will elaborate on the important ones about the nutrients to really watch out for, the most important ones that are going to move the needle for the child. And then we'll round up with answering some questions. Does that, yeah?
Yeah.
Sound about right?
We had 2 questions, so later on I will.
We can go through. So let's see how we race through these. Okay, so is it you that's supposed
just
to
take our time? Don't have to raise because parents are really looking forward to sessions like this.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So how do you share the screen now? Do you do it on your phone?
Okay, so you click on share. I will help to enlarge.
It's already sharing, right?
Okay, let me get the enlarge. All right, good.
On the
Okay,
screen.
there you are. Now we string ourselves.
So here, do you see it?
Yes, I see a computer screen, but it's nothing. Like click to exit full screen.
Okay. How about now?
No, it's yeah. Okay, good. I saw something. Yes, PowerPoint. Yes, that's right.
I'm going to go into presentation mode. Do you see the presentation mode now?
It says click to exit full screen.
Okay. Well, I think I'll just do it like this here. Is that okay?
At least you have the PowerPoint slide at the side.
So I can't do presentation mode. That's okay, but it's all visible and it's clear. Yeah.
Yes, it's visible.
Yeah. So this is me. I am a functional medicine doctor. I actually trained in the UK, King's College London. And when I worked over there, I was working in all kinds of departments doing my work experience, graduated in 2007. And when I came back to Singapore, I decided to go into family medicine. So I'm a family physician. After doing family physician work for a while, I realized that parents had lots and lots more questions. People had lots and lots more questions. So I further trained in the field of functional and integrative medicine in Australia and have been doing this predominantly as my work for, half a decade now. So that's my passion area. And you can find me online and things like that. But let's crack on with all the things that I think it's important for kids. And this is what I do. I have a 3-year-old son, 3.5, and a 1-year-old Amelia who's crying. Can you hear her in the background?
No, she's good.
She's crying like mad. So yeah.
She wants you?
Yeah, well, 8 o'clock is like their bedtime. Actually 9, but she's having HFMD now.
Oh,
so this is real life, right? There are other illnesses besides COVID happening still.
Yes, I know.
I'm giving her a lot of zinc. Okay, so
yes.
How can integrative health help my family? Commonly seen conditions. I've got 9 nutrients, and then we'll do Q&A.
All right, very good.
These are the kind of things that I see in adults. So I'm just going to talk about the children, really. In children, a lot of it is multiple food allergies and eczema and bowel issues. Fatigue, they don't normally complain about fatigue, but you will see that in their behavior and the tolerance for stress and emotional regulation and low immunity. And the behavioral issues. And the difference with children, of course, when you see them is that the interventions need to be very sensible, very practical, very realistic, and then quite creative as well. Okay, different from adults where you just say like take the pills. So holistic and integrative medicine is where we treat the whole person and we really look at the root causes of any disease. Yeah. So, for example, in eczema, you would put steroids. In functional medicine, you would look at a source of inflammation and dysbiosis in the gut, for example. This is another nice, colorful. I like this. So these are all areas that we look at. And in integrative medicine, it's not that we forget about medicine, but we use medicine in a big paradigm to our advantage if needed. And there are all kinds of other complementary therapies that we also account for, and we understand and we take into account that a human being is made out of a spiritual being, an emotional being, and a biological being, and we integrate therapies that way.
All
I
right.
love. Yeah. So why is the state of nutrition so bad? You can see here that in the it's just a regular 2019 study of infants and toddlers, they are all having huge nutrient gaps, especially for vitamins E, D, and fiber, and iron among infants. So it's a given already. I mean, following normal diets and the best maternal diet still gives you these kind of deficiencies. It's terrible. It's the state of our food agriculture, and it's the state of, the standard Singaporean diet, the standard American diet of processed foods. A lot of our foods are processed, and
Yes.
yeah. So the first thing that I would like to go into is something that we get for free on sun exposure, and unfortunately, moms are not getting enough vitamin D because of our modern living and our skin tone. Asians, we do need hours in the sun with less clothes, and that doesn't always happen. So the pregnancy is vitamin D deficient, and then the babies come out vitamin D deficient as well.
I don't like sun.
Like that. So that's the thing, yeah, And so when we don't like sun, then we have to know how to supplement, and not everyone knows how to supplement. And of course, sunshine is the best. You couldn't overdose with it. So children, that's why babies, they say, especially breastfed babies, they need to take drops, 400 IU from birth. This is because the breast milk doesn't contain the vitamin D. And then the upstream reason is because mom doesn't have enough vitamin D. But if mom has enough vitamin D, the breast milk will be fine, you see.
Okay.
The recommendations are not really, giving you solutions upstream, but, think a little bit that way, and then you will realize where the solutions are. So that's vitamin D. And of course, you can find it in these foods as well. But of course, my favorite source is really for sunshine, and sweat is good for them. Sweat for children, for older children anyway, helps in their detoxification as well. We detoxify through sweat too. Okay. The other thing is about calcium. So vitamin D is good for bones. And of course, mummies always say, they really need milk because we need calcium. But I would like to challenge the idea of milk only for calcium, because the way our milk is created, it is quite processed, and it becomes quite inflammatory in nature, unlike raw milk. So that's why a lot of children do better without milk after the age of 1. So that's pretty controversial. So, you check the questions and all that later on. But, it's mummy's milk. And of course, if mummy can't provide the breast milk, then it would be formula up until the age of 1. And hopefully they would have been weaned onto all these nutritious foods that you can see are very comparable to a cup of milk in terms of calcium intake. And not only do they give calcium, they give you lots of fiber alongside it as well, and all the microminerals alongside it as well. So when we're thinking about nutrition, you want to think about nutrient density, rather than just aiming for 1 cup of milk gives you calcium, but it doesn't give you anything else. Whereas, sesame seeds, if you make hummus or tahini, bok choy and all these like steamed broccoli and all that, it's going to give you a lot of fiber and nutrients alongside the calcium as well. Okay, so it's much more bang for your buck. Okay. Another often talked about thing is pre and probiotics. So this is a picture of kefir and the grains used to make kefir. So there is something to be said about homemade kefir, because the cultures in there and the number of probiotics and healthy yeasts far surpass any probiotic tablet that you could eat. And I know I contradicted myself in saying that, milk is no good, but the benefits of kefir outweigh the disadvantages of drinking milk. And so we have kefir in our home. Thankfully, my mom makes it. So I enjoy the benefits of kefir at home, and homemade yogurt also. They tend to contain more strains, a more diverse a diverse bunch of strains compared with taking just yogurt from the shops, where yogurt from the shops are made from 3 strains at the most of bacteria, good bacteria. Okay. And the other thing that children are lacking, according to that study that I flashed across in the beginning, is fiber. And so, kid-friendly fiber foods include apples and pears and beans. And sometimes you can use cereals to help you out with the fiber content as well. So those things are very important because these days people like to give children mashed up food and peel the skin off. And really the children need their jaws strengthened. So anything that's difficult to chew is good. Let them practice on that. It's really good for their teeth and jaw and mid-face, the strength, the structure of the face, therefore the structure of the neck and the whole skeleton. Vitamin E, it's an easy one because really that's all in the nuts already. And I'd like to talk about zinc. If you see these white spots in your children's fingers, then they pretty much have a zinc deficiency, if not a multi-mineral deficiency as well. So keep a lookout, even on your own fingers as well. If you notice these spots, they are called zinc spots and need addressing as well. So I'll talk about how parents can get themselves sorted, or I'll repeat it later on again. But I generally take care of the mummy first. And when the mummy has educated herself about the nutrients that mummy needs, this is really the same nutrients that baby needs. So when mummy fixes herself with the nutrients, mummy tests herself with the nutrients, and she knows what she's lacking in and tops herself up and puts on her own life jacket first. Then she will also know how to supplement, and she will also know how to cook for the family and for the children to correct them without having to do blood testing on young children. Because doing blood testing on young children, as you know, is a pretty traumatic process. So I put the immune pad here because I'm a real fan of it, and it contains a really good amount of zinc in a very good tasting formula that never gets spat out. So my son is a real fan of this immune pad, which you can obtain from clinics, and I think it's prescriber only, unfortunately. But if your pediatrician stocks it, I think you can go and get it from them. Yes. So talking about minerals, there are many, many, many kids who are also iron deficient because, in the past, children used to be fed liver. Like this little girl who's eating liver pate. You can make liver pate at home. And, people used to give babies raw egg yolk from 4 months, 5 months of age. And that would provide the baby some iron as well. So this is one of the ways and the traditional ways that we have forgotten how to eat. Even as adults, we forgot. I had to re-look at recipes and learn how to eat rich food, iron-rich food like liver and all these kind of things, So with children as well, you want to make sure that they have all these iron sources, but not just vegetable sources, because the human body extracts iron a lot easier from animal sources. So being vegan is possible in this day and age if you know how to supplement correctly, but frankly, for children, it's a fairly risky diet, I would call it. You need to be fairly clued in to be able to do that safely for a child. Okay? Lack in iron leads to tired kids, and kids that are cranky and they're tired and they don't sleep well either. So that typical kind of child, and then you see that they're a bit pale. Of course, as a mom, it's very, very difficult to diagnose your child. So it's better to get seen by somebody else who is unbiased to take a look at the child's condition and see them, and get in touch with me. There really aren't too many doctors who can diagnose nutritional deficiencies well. So, get in touch with me and I will introduce you to my trusted network. Vitamin A, that's all the orange colored foods for their vision and their skin. And having spoke about a couple of vitamins, and then of course your omegas, right? So here's a little clue about omega. In birth to 3, they require more of DHA to create their brain cells and to build their growing brain cells. And from 3-year-old plus, then they need more of the EPA. So you don't have to give this baby DHA drop anymore. It's more about EPA, which you can find in our good old cod liver oil. Why do I like cod liver oil so much? And this brand is pretty all right. Is because, the old-fashioned cod liver oil actually contains also vitamin D, and vitamin A. So it's a really like sort of all-in-one, and it's quite whole foods in a way because it's not too synthetic. It actually comes from the cod liver, it's got a funny taste. So you might want to mix it with what I usually do is I mix it. Half of this and half some kind of probiotic syrup or something sweet, and then you do it as a shot. And 3-year-old Nathaniel loves his cod liver oil, and I feel like it makes him strong. Okay, so it's a bit of a 3-in-1 when you give a child cod liver oil, because you get the omegas for their brain, vitamin D for their bones, and vitamin A for their skin and eyes. Okay, all the things that you need for development. Omegas, upper limits, let's not worry about that. You just follow the instructions. And the last thing, I think it's the last thing, is magnesium. So again, why I talk about magnesium. Magnesium is found in all of these foods and in abundance. However, in stress, the human body will pee it out. It will excrete magnesium. And I must say, a lot of our children are stressed in our the way that we live our modern lives sometimes. And replacing the magnesium can result in them having better sleep, smoother poops. If for some reason they are constipated, it will help, and it will make them a little more calm. So I have a good magnesium formula that I now sell on my website, which can be used for children as well. It's that pure, and it really helps, especially in the bedtime. And another way of getting magnesium, which I like, is using magnesium sulfate in the bath, if you have a bath at home. And you can buy Epsom salts, i.e. magnesium sulfate, in Red Mart or shopping centers and grocery stores to put in your bath, and for them to have a nighttime soak. You can put a drop of lavender oil, and that really sets a very nice bedtime routine. They will get their magnesium, and magnesium is also essential in the body's detoxifying abilities. Not that kids really need to detox, but I'm talking about more mediating the environmental toxins that are around us, air pollution, chemicals in our food, and so on. So those are the nutrients that I find are the biggest ones. And so we talked about what integrative health really is. We talked about commonly seen conditions in children. We went through and buzzed through 9 key nutrients, and I think now we can have a discussion and do some Q&A if you wish. What I would like to say actually as I end, and so I don't forget, is really, I said it just now and I'll say it again, that why children are nutrient depleted is actually it starts from birth and when they're in the womb. So if you want to go upstream and more upstream, actually the source of the deficiency is the mom, right? The parents, the mom, really. And like I said, modern moms are starting their pregnancies already quite in a deficit of nutrients. That's if they get pregnant in the first place, because a severe deficiency will also render you infertile or subfertile. So that's why I work with moms a lot. I want to be able to work upstream to improve their fertility, improve the child and fetal outcome, improve their pregnancy and labor outcomes as well. So that's why I work with moms a lot, and that's why I've put out a free nutrient cheat sheet. If you go to my website, on the top bar, you'll be able to click and download it. And the doses are there available. They're all adult doses. And I also run a short course on how to check your nutrients, what test to do, what to ask for at your doctor's, and then when you have the results as well, how to interpret it. Because this is information that I like to share with everyone, and I do share them with doctors as much as possible as well. But the way that our medical education is, we hadn't learned too much about nutrients, and this requires postgraduate study on it. So you can download that document, you can join my course, and you can get clued up in exactly how to test and how to replace your nutrients through supplements, through food, and then at the same time you'll be able to know how to do it for your children as well, hopefully without having to test, because children respond very well to food and dietary interventions and the simple supplements as well. Yeah. So I'll come back so I can see you, because just now I couldn't see you, so you can stop that screen now.
All right. Okay.
Yeah. So there was a question about constipation in...
hang on. Because I need to type out the question, or at least read out the question, so that audience knows what we are talking about. So before we go into Q&A, I just want to recap some of the things you said that brought me back to... I resonate with one of the key things that you mentioned about giving milk, right? And I remember many years ago when I first started, I was also told by my mentor not to give milk after 1 year old. And when I say this to parents like 7 years ago, the parents go like, "No, you must be kidding." And then I explained, I said, if it's milk from your breast, great, continue. But if it's formula milk, you have to rethink, because the milk has been cooked and powdered and dry and cooked and powdered and dry. So it has been going through too many processes to be able to bring to the table. So I think at that time when I was saying this, it was not very well received.
Yeah. There is a legacy of the milk industry and the advertising and, that milk mustache stuff. So it's been really ingrained as a very nutritionally rich food. And to be fair with you, in the developing country where nutrition is so poor, then of course milk is better. But now we're seeing things, it's a little bit of a different story now, because now we realize that milk is actually quite inflammatory in nature. For my son, I can see it. I give him a glass of milk and I know already he starts coughing. Or when he's slightly ill and recovering, and during that time, if I give him milk, confirm he will cough or be a little bit more mucousy. So children with chronic sinusitis or glue ear or chronic ear infections, chronic tonsillitis, asthma, those kind of things, I think you work towards eliminating milk from your diet. Drink water, and save the calories for something that they can eat. So they can eat their broccoli, steamed veg, omelette, nuts, ikan bilis. Ikan bilis is salty lah, but they can drink water right after that. So, Amelia was eating ikan bilis, I think, from like 7 months or 6 months or something. She really started eating really early. I also, Garang gave her egg yolk from 4 months,
Wow.
But I knew my iron status was fine, so I actually had nothing to worry about for her. She honestly was a strong baby. She was born at home with me, and then she could raise her head already.
Yes, that is the difference. Next time we'll talk about birth process.
Yeah, okay. So, talking about milk, okay, it's not that we want to chastise and say milk is bad, formula is bad. No, from 0 to 1, if you run out of breast milk, thank God for formula.
Yes.
If you run out of breast milk, what have you got, right? So thank God for formula. Formula has been made with cow's milk and processed with palm oil and processed with synthetic vitamins in order to mimic breast milk, so that you have something to give your child. If not nothing, it's very depressing.
Yes.
It's very upsetting. So to celebrate the fact that there is this such thing called formula milk, stage 0, 1, or whatever. But the milk companies try to make you think that you have to go from stage 1 to stage 2 to stage 3 to toddler milk and all this stuff. Yeah, that's where I stop. I say from year 1 onwards, there is no need anymore. They should be chewing well. When you wean them at 6 months, also by that time 1 year, they are eating already. They don't need milk. Yeah, so it's like sort of a bad habit lah. Don't do that lah. Try to wean off if anybody is, having slow with. Yeah, no, my kids no more. At the most, yogurt, kefir. Yeah.
I have one question that came in while we were talking about milk was, how about nut? N-U-T, nut milk.
Yeah. So if you need something to put onto your cereal, I guess you can use nut milk. But let me tell you one thing, nut milk is processed food too, right? You can make your own nut milk. If you are making your own nut milk with your activated almonds, okay, fine. I think that's as clean as it can get. But for these other nut milks to be shelf stable and to have this gloopy, milky-like texture, there are emulsifiers used most of the time. So, do you also then want that kind of thing? And it's expensive. So we don't use nut milk. You can if you want, but everything in moderation. So if you're going to have one huge glass of nut milk a day, then you really need to know what's in your nut milk, because this is every day, you could be poisoning yourself slowly, or spending a lot of money also. So, I think that's that. Within nut milks, there are lots of nuts. There are lots of different companies making nut milks. There are lots of different brands, so I cannot blanket comment on it. And people are becoming more conscious. There are new brands coming up that maybe are quite okay. So, I leave the rest up to you.
One of the
nut milk compared with dairy is less inflammatory, yes, but when you talk about the preservatives and the carrageenan and how that exerts its own inflammatory effect, I don't know. So
okay. I remember I gave my children milk kefir and water kefir. Everyone consensusly prefer water kefir. So is there a difference?
The grains are different.
Yes.
And water kefir, I believe, is quite sweet.
That's why they like it, and I like it too.
Because water kefir grains, I believe, need sugar.
Yes, brown sugar.
Yeah, and then you got to put sugar in there, and then some of it is left over. And then milk kefir feeds on the lactose. Once the lactose sugar and the milk is gone, then actually there's not much sugar left. It's not a very sweet drink in the end, and of course it's very hard and sour.
Everybody goes like, oh, it's too
it's an acquired taste. Yeah, really, it's an acquired taste. So if you're a mom of very young children, you quickly go and give it to them so they can develop their taste for it.
Oh, I didn't. I
That
gave
is
it to them when they were much older.
if you give them all sweet stuff, well, how can they will ever like the sour stuff, right? You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So I really was aware of that. Then I was like, okay, here you go. Eat some sour things, eat some bitter things, eat some spicy things, and get used to that stuff because the sweet things will come and they will, of course, for them, it's like a drug, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, right?
Yeah, I
I mean,
know.
I have raided your kitchen before.
Yeah, you came to my kitchen and help himself.
I'm like, whoa, okay, this must be like Disneyland for you, lah.
Yeah. So although the milk kefir is much better, but would you say that water kefir works? Because now I'm actually giving them water kefir, so I want to make sure it works.
Yeah, go read about it lah. I mean, I'm not an expert on water kefir and the
Yes.
kefir, you know, the strains in there, but I believe it's going to be much more than even yogurt these days. Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
Okay. All right.
So, and another, you know, another effect that you can see is that your kids poop more often. You know, the bowel movements are smoother,
So,
healthier.
so
Yeah.
far they don't have all this constipation issue. Touch wood, so far. But to be honest, because okay, audience out there, to be honest, my children are already older. They are teenagers already, so it's a different story altogether. We are now looking at young babies and toddlers.
Babies. Yeah, I mean, Amelia also went a few days when she was about 6 months old or something. She pooped like every 3 days, which for us was convenient, you know, and it wasn't too hard. It's just simply she pooped every 3 days. And then you can give things, you use food-based things like barley. Barley always makes them go a little bit more,
Yeah.
you know. What else? Yeah, can't think now.
A lot of people give
Apples, figs, apricots, yeah, stuff like that you can use, you know, to your advantage. Barley was a really nice one. Barley is like our favorite food because it's the only thing that they eat when they're sick also. Yeah.
All right. Okay, so I'm going to read out the question that I received. One of it is my 3-year-old do not like vegetables and fruits, no matter what I give, and it really stresses me out. And really, they do not like, not at all, even one strain, even if you hide it. So it's really giving me a headache because I read about a balanced diet, and if they're not developing well, it stresses me out. Can you provide an alternative?
I mean, the important thing is, are they developing well? And if they are, then praise the Lord, right? I mean, my husband, he grew up, he you know, even if not even a piece of broccoli, right, but a broccoli little small green thing falls on his plate, right, he will reject the plate, okay? That's what my in-laws told me about my husband. But he's like this fully grown man and he's, you know, fine now, right? So I think of the long game that when they're very small, they might go with their tastes or textures and you can't necessarily alter that. But when they reach the age of reason and virtue and fortitude, when you can teach them those kind of things at 4 years old or 5 years old, maybe that is the time to catch up in a way. Sometimes mothers and fathers stress during the meal times kills the joy also for them to try things new. But you just put it there. In one way, it's actually, in some people believe that it's not great to hide it because they don't get exposed to the texture or get to handle the food. I do two things. My son doesn't like veggie, but he doesn't like veggie because he thinks it's cool not to like veggie. I don't even know where he got that from, but I hide it in the spaghetti bolognese or in the cottage pie, you know, like the chopped up potatoes or he likes sweet potatoes. And in the bolognese, it's carrot and tomatoes.
Yeah.
You know, you can really hide it in there, or you can even make your own ketchup with tomatoes, actual real tomatoes. So I hide it, but I also show it. So I always put tomatoes there, and I always put so he can see it, and you know, and at least start to be familiar with it, even though he doesn't actually eat it. Yeah, so the familiarity is there. Then on the other hand, taste buds are different. Amelia, she loves broccoli. She can have just a one whole bowl of broccoli, and then she will just like pull the bok choy with her little teeth. I don't know what I did. I mean, really. So, I mean, it's also not to stress out, lah. I mean, just think about all these grown men and grown women who grew up with zero vegetables, and they seem to have caught up fine because they did reach the age of reason eventually, and realized for themselves what a healthy diet meant, and they would catch up. Yeah, kids are very resilient. Kids are super resilient. They can deal with great deficits, and they can bounce back from great deficits as well, very reversibly.
Okay. I read from the comments, one of the parents said, as parents, what is the first sign that will show my child is not having enough nutrients?
I would just try to imagine, say in my kids as well, if say they were 1 and 3, it's more, say, it's easy to say for adults it's fatigue. For children, right, no matter how fatigued they are, their life will still happen. They will still always be somewhat curious or whatever. But if you find that they're less so, or a little bit distractible or irritable, that's a good time to, question. And you've got to put together 2 and 2, their behavior and what you think has been happening in the kitchen and in terms of their intake as well. So when you put 2 and 2 together, only you as a parent can roughly make a guess. I think it's true. They don't really eat liver or eggs. They don't really fancy those kind of nutrient-rich diets. Then it's possible.
Okay, so I'm going to type out some of the things and some of the information I think that might help. Behavioral problem is one of the key aspect you look at when they have a behavioral problem, or they find it so hard to sleep. They don't sleep well. They don't nap well, or it shows up in the poo, in the constipation. It shows up in sometimes the eczema, and the one that you say about the fingernails, it shows up, right? So I will help to type out the answer. Now, can I ask another one? Another one from Anna. If I were to give multivibes for my 5-year-old, what vitamins should I look out for? Because my 5-year-old rejects sour flavor.
I have a lot of favorite ones, but you just have to try lah, right? And sadly, many of the on the shelf ones and the gummies are out of the question. They just don't contain enough nutrient in them to make it worthwhile. So if you need a I can't really, there are so many to recommend here. So I think, sign up for my mailing list, stay in touch. I will share these things in time, or you can DM me on Instagram and things like that. And then it might be easier. And on my Instagram, I have stories. And in the stories, I talk about kids' nutrients a lot. And I have what I use and things like that. That's a bit easier to go through. Another thing is that, I'm lucky. I get access to, and for my clients as well, I get access to prescriber-only nutrients, and I find the quality better and the taste better too. So it's a hard one. It's difficult. I don't know your child's taste. Yeah.
Okay. Another question that comes in is hang on. Is the daily food nutrients enough, or do I need to always provide vitamins?
Yeah, good question. I do this. I do vitamins once in a while. Yeah, because it's expensive, also,
Yes.
and
because there's a whole list, right? You do not know which one to always buy.
Yeah, and we try some different things as well, like Pharmaton Kiddy CL because of a little bit of calcium. It's got lysine inside to encourage an appetite. So I like that. B vitamins as well encourage an appetite, makes them a bit more hungry. So more likely they will eat the food on the table. Yeah. So little tricks like that. There is a brand, so that's Pharmaton brand. Then there is another brand called PN Kids. They do a liquid multi as well, mango flavor, and my son adores it. And I find that the nutrient content is pretty good. However, they are synthetic, artificial, made in the lab. So you only really want to use it when you feel like, oh, say, not now during COVID lah. Oh, they've been on, hey, hello. They've been on holiday and all they've had is crap. So now I want to use nutrients to bump their nutrition up. But when you get back to your usual routine, you want to put nutrition in there in terms of real food. Yeah. So you have a menu plan going of Monday is fish day, Tuesday is dal. We have dal. Wednesday is what? Wednesday is our liver sort of meat day. Then I squeeze the liver in there somewhere. Thursday is chicken day. Then Friday is fish day again. Saturday, Sunday is have fun. Whatever you want. Pizza, whatever. So then I know, okay, in a week roughly they're having twice fish. Once they're going to get their liver, this, that, and the other. Then their eggs are in the morning and all that. So I know roughly they are consistently, if this week was a bad week, next week we try again. If this day was a bad day, tomorrow we try again. Yeah, because their life is going to be very long. Right? There's 365 days in the year, so no point stressing about one day, right? Keep trying.
This is a good plan.
How long?
I mean, it's good because instead of worrying every meal, do I have all the minerals and vitamins? You do it within a day.
And, you see the stress in your heart, even if you don't say, translate, they can feel it, so the feeling on the dining table is like that. They won't eat. I was brought up in a stressful environment when I was a child, and then like force feeding and all this, and I never enjoyed food. Of course not. The feeling is horrible already. Yeah.
Yeah.
And don't sell it to them. They'll get very suspicious of food. They go like, hey, try this, go and eat lah, eat. Then they'll be like, why do you have to talk about it so much, right? If it's yummy, then you don't have to say already, right?
I think I'm one of those.
My son is a little bit fussy. Yeah, he's still up to today, doesn't have his meals with us at the table, Whereas my daughter, she's 1 and she likes to socialize with us at the table. So let's see. Everyone.
I remember my first child. Oh, such a bad eater. I go like, every time I cook, whatever I cook, end up I'm the one eating. It's like I'm the baby,
Yeah. It's a real mind game. It's actually more psychology, more behavioral psychology than actual nutrition sometimes. Yeah, because you really have to trust their senses, And how do you trust a 2-year-old? You know what I mean? So hard. Okay.
Okay. So just now we were talking about vegetables, and one of the questions came in during that time. Instead of giving vegetables, can I go along with fruits? Because fruits is a little bit tastier, sweet, nice. So what do you think?
Better than nothing lah, of course. Definitely better than nothing. And then you can go for bananas, avocados. You can have nuts if they're old enough for that. I mean, there's a wide array of fruit, but you don't have to overdose on any one particular fruit either. Yeah. Berries as well. They're not absolutely too sweet. Yeah, that's okay. A good variety.
Yeah.
You see, the thing about veggie and green veggie is that they contain folate. Yeah, so if you're lacking on the green veggie, I think you try to make sure that they're getting their folate somehow, like in the nuts and in the pulses and the beans, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah. Keep trying.
Okay. All right. Second question, which a parent sent in previously was, my child is always constipated, and I resorted to give medicine. So when I read this question, medicine, I suspect is, those pump into the anus type of medicine. But I'm
Either lactulose maybe, or maybe even the enema. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. But I'm afraid his intestine will weaken as he's not using his own strength to push the pool out. I gave prune juice. I changed his diet to a little bit digestive friendly. So any other suggestion, because I want to wean off medication?
Yeah. Well, a lot of people are looking in the diet, and the most obvious things in the diet, I would say, is already what you've tried. So the prune juice and so on, and figs and apricots and apples, and just lots of that. And enough water during the day, and enough fat content, butter and olive oil and things like that. And really, if you're talking about nutrients, then the magnesium is gonna help a bit. So that the magnesium that I sell on my website is you can open it up for kids, or if they can swallow, then can swallow one pill. It helps with relaxing the muscles all throughout the body, including those in the gut too, to help loosen things up. The other aspect is more like behavioral and habits. And the last thing that you can do to help also, I think that this is very good, and also it benefits because it's bonding time, is that you give your son a oil massage, or your child, I can't remember whether it's son or daughter, but an oil massage and a tummy massage. And you can go and Google how to do a nice tummy massage from the right side across and down, and then keep doing that. And it can be a very nice bonding experience, very positive reinforcing, just in case that the constipation has got anything to do with stress. Doing that on a nightly basis, in order that in the mornings they can go and poop, or at least you have a routine for when they poop, and you try to bring them at the same time every day. Then it's like a training. Actually, it's like a training. Yeah.
This few days I've been teaching parents the tummy massage. So those parents who attended lesson these few days, I think they benefited.
Yeah, it works for adults, so and it works for kids as well. It does.
Yes.
Yeah. And you can turn it into a very enjoyable process with your essential oils as well.
Yes. All right, good. So far, we have answered most of the questions. So, would you like to sum up?
I think one big question you talked about was the gut-brain axis and people wanting to know what that was. But I will just tell you, I'm very simple-minded, and literally the gut-brain axis is just that if you have a tummy ache, you feel crappy, right? Your mood. Or if you feel nervous, then you're gonna lao sai. So that's the gut-brain axis in my simple words. That's all we have to understand now, because the science is making a hoo-ha about the gut-brain axis, and really in practical terms, there's not much coming out of it right now. Anyway, just make sure that your gut is good so you don't have a bad mood. That's all, right? Yes. If you haven't pooped for days, you're gonna feel a bit bad mood, right? What's the gut-brain axis at work?
Stomach.
And how stress affects the severity of IBS. Yeah, this is the gut-brain axis at work. That's all. As from a practical level, there's nothing more to it. Okay.
Yes. Okay. One more questions before we wrap up. I just saw this one minute ago. My 5-year-old is not choosy about food when young, but now he prefers meat. Is there anything to be done to give him a more balanced diet? Maybe she's talking about introducing veg or fruits or etc. etc.
Yeah, that's right. So again, you got to trust the child. Maybe it is true that he or she needs more protein at the moment, but you may also experiment. Actually, mummies, you're gonna know best really how to spice up a recipe and make cottage pie and use lentils. mixed in with the meat, or you can mix in vegetables with the meat. So this is all about recipe and kitchen stuff, which I'm also not super good at. But I think, I draw a lot of wisdom and ideas from my mom. And so I ask them for help. So it really is a test of our creativity. And like I said, if you are a mummy and you want to learn more about nutrients, I would really highly suggest that you make sure that you don't have nutrient deficiencies first, and we'll always teach about that. And, when you join my courses, you will get an opportunity to consult with me, and we can always talk about the child as well if you are if you're worried about them, and we can brainstorm some ideas. But it's a very individual thing, so I couldn't really give a broad recommendation, really.
Good. All right. Okay. So far, I think we are good. And keep your questions coming. We can always look through some of the comments even when the live is over, because I'm always in touch with Cheryl. So don't worry, she's not gone. She's only
Anyway, you can. I'm very accessible. You join my mailing list or look me up on Instagram. I love to help on topics like that, because I know I have a 3 and a 1-year-old. So I always love to share my tips also.
Yes. Good. All right. And same here. I won't be gone. If you have any questions or anything, don't have to be just diet, can be anything. We'll try our best to address your questions. And so I think we're good for now. Hang on. No more question? Okay, no more question. All right, good. Okay, I think we are good for now. Yes, thank you very much, Dr. Cheryl Kam, and I had an enjoyable day today. I learned something. I think I'm going to ask for milk kefir from you once again, because
you can.
I'm very kiasu already, because I've only been introducing the water kefir. Okay, so I'm going to ask from you again. All right, so everyone, good night. We will talk again soon. Good night. Bye.
Bye, everyone. Thank you.
Bye.